3, 2, 1. Special Sunday afternoon edition of the Blue White Tailgate podcast. Mike Gross is the Gross Rational Product. Andrew Kalista here. Frank Bodani currently on assignment typing away for the York Daily Record. The reason being James Franklin fired. Franklin's Bad Day, the children's book. It is a full-blown reality for James Franklin, except for the Penn State fan base. James Franklin is not a turtle. He's a hare, and they want him out of town fast after the third straight loss for the Nittany Lions. Mike, we talked about it last night, high above Beaver Stadium. We thought a move was going to be made before the Iowa game. I don't think we thought it would actually be made on a Sunday afternoon, but James Franklin is out as Penn State's head coach. Your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think after last night, it was more and more, untenable for them to even go forward with playing the rest of the season. I mean, it's almost like if you could opt to cancel the rest of the season, you'd do it. This is an amazing, precipitous fall. I'm not sure. I've been doing this a long time, as you know, Andrew, and I'm not sure that I can think of a parallel to this. A team that was this highly regarded, a team that was this highly regarded for good and obvious reasons, and to have it fall apart this thoroughly, it's a shocker. And the way the fan base was reacting to James Franklin, which you and I both got a very close look at last night, was just awful, was just horrible. I mean, you can say Nittany Nation is passionate. Well, at a certain point, passion becomes cruelty, and this was cruel. And maybe Pat Kraft just wanted to see that stop. I mean, obviously, as we said last night, it's unthinkable to me that James Franklin was going to be the head coach at the start of next season. But doing it this quickly, this abruptly, I think maybe was just, this has gotten so ugly that it can't continue.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. And about an hour before the announcement, another reporter on a Facebook page, I put up a post about this will probably be the last picture I take of James Franklin on the Beaver Stadium football field. And that person said, I don't see it coming. I don't know how it's possible. I responded 45 minutes after that post, and I said, told you. I mean, there were signs. The Board of Trustees Finance Committee meeting with something to discuss WPSU on a Monday, slated for a half-hour meeting. There's just all the signs. I saw James Franklin, very big supporters of James Franklin in the tailgate lots. They were making rounds. Like, I've seen them walk around before, but I felt like they were walking with a purpose, around the tailgate lots yesterday. People selling bags outside the stadium with Fire Franklin. It has gotten so nasty. And I go back to something I said after the UCLA game. Penn State's own downfall and James Franklin's own downfall directly points in on himself. For so many years at Penn State, no matter what was going on, whether it was sanctions, Bill O'Brien didn't talk about sanctions, but if it was sanctions, then it was Penn State's facilities are bad. Then it was we need locker room. Then it was we need to get on board and we need to do this and we need to all pull the rope in the same
alignment.
Yeah, perfect alignment became a road course in the Tour de France real quick on the mountain course of switchback curves real fast in Happy Valley. But there was always a boogeyman to point to. Well, Jay Paterno didn't vote for this. The Paterno and the Paterno files hate James Franklin. At some point when you got everything you want, and by always pointing the finger, you had nowhere else to point, and the hype machine that is Penn State football was the Trojan horse within, because it is a classic oversell and underdeliver. And just 1 point on Drew Aller. I'm not saying this because he's injured. I'm saying this if he was perfectly healthy going forward. This is not a shot at Drew's character. This is not a shot at anything. And we hope he recovers fully and has a successful NFL career. People saying Penn State and James Franklin failed Drew Aller, I want the proof that Drew Aller was destined for great things. Not him standing holding the Rose Bowl trophy in a board of trustee meeting going into his sophomore year, as I was told happened. But his blue-white games always were lackluster. And we never, ever saw a consistent version of a Drew Aller that could throw the ball all over the place. We saw glimpses of it, Big Ten championship game, but we also saw the Peach Bowl of sky-high throws, pop-ups to center field.
We honestly never saw him play a single great game.
Yes.
He has not had a great game in his college career. The best games in Sean Clifford's career were better than the best games in Drew Aller's career. But now the best game in Bo Pribula's career are better than the best games of Drew Aller's career. And I like Aller. I think he's a great talent. I think he's a good person. And again, this is brutal, this injury, and we hope that, as you said, we hope that he recovers. We don't know what the injury is at this point. There's a lot of things we don't know. The financial fallout of this has got to be complicated, and I'm sure that we're going to be talking to Pat Kraft at some point this week.
Noon tomorrow. Terry Smith press conference at 12 for that. On Columbus Day press conference for that kind of keeps the schedule. I don't think we'll be seeing a tweet from Terry Smith that says Iowa, 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 Iowa. That's not his style.
Yeah.
But Terry Smith, longtime assistant coach, longtime high school coach in the state of Pennsylvania. I have text messages from high school coaches in the past telling me that Terry Smith is the glue. This was not surprising. I don't think this is going to be.
James just kind of said Terry Smith was the glue. And in case anybody who hasn't heard, he's going to be the interim head coach. I don't think he's a long-term guy. I don't think he's going to be the coach next year. But right now and for the rest of this season, he's going to be kind of steering the ship.
Steering the ship. I don't think this is going to be the last move, to be honest. I really don't think this is going to be the last move. Maybe for this week, but definitely going forward, I don't think this is going to be the last move. I think we might see some coordinator things happen in the future. I wouldn't be shocked if that's happened. Before we go into more discussing, because, Mike, I want to talk a little bit more about, is it shocking that Penn State made this move? I'm getting text messages from longtime Penn State fans saying, I can't believe Penn State made this move. But I want to go into the letter that was sent out to the football letterman that we've obtained here at the Blue White Tailgate podcast. It says, Dear Penn State football family, I want to share with you directly that we have made a change in the leadership of our football program, as Coach Franklin will no longer serve as the head football coach. This decision did not come lightly. I have tremendous respect for James and for the deep commitment and effort he and his staff have shown our student athletes and our great university. However, after careful evaluation of the program's trajectory and performance, I believe new leadership is necessary to position Penn State football for long-term success. As proud members of the Penn State football family, you helped build the foundation of this storied program. Your legacy and the standard of toughness and excellence you created remains our guide. Our responsibility is to ensure that the same standard continues to define who we are and where we're headed. We will begin a national search for our next head coach. My priority is finding a leader who embodies Penn State's core values, will develop our student athletes on and off the field, and will unite our community in the pursuit of championships. I know this news brings strong emotions for many of you. Please know that I deeply value your continued support, input, and connection to our program. Penn State football is built on family, and that foundation remains as strong as ever. Thank you for all you've done and continue to do for Penn State. We will move forward together with pride in our past and confidence in our future. We are Pat. That's the letter that went out to the Football Letterman's Club announcing the firing of head coach James Franklin for the Nittany Lions. Nothing too exciting in that letter. I think it gets
what you would expect. Yeah.
It's right on brand. I also don't think that letter was drafted this morning. I think that letter was drafted sometime next week. It's very, very well stated. Doesn't seem like it was rushed. Tip of the cap to Penn State for that, because in the past it has seemed like that has not been the case for some things.
Well, one little interesting thing in that letter. I know that this news brings something effective. I know this news will bring strong emotions for many. I think even people who were on board with James Franklin, and a lot of the alumni, I think, were. I think LeVar Arrington is a good example of a guy who was on board with what James had done here. I don't think I think this situation has gotten untenable. I mean, I don't think there's going to be too many people, if any, that are going to be complaining about this, that are going to be unhappy about maybe the timing of it a little bit, but generally speaking, even people who were in Franklin's camp, I think, could see how far this had fallen, how much this had gone off course. It's astounding. And I don't think there's a lot of strong emotions, but I don't think there's a lot of people who are going to be mad at the fact that James is no longer going to be the coach, including people who were pro James.
Yeah, yeah, and they'll wait for their day. They'll wait for the next person to fail at some point and to say the grass isn't always greener, and that's always a risk. The Nebraska program history looms large post Tom Osborne and post Bo Pelini. Matt Rule is doing an admirable job out there. He's in year 3. Obviously, the connections to Penn State are, a five alarm flashing red lights. The connections to Penn State. Person in sports journalism out in California who's a Nebraska diehard texted me and said, stay away from Matt Rule. So the perception among Nebraska fans is already there that is where Pat Kraft would go. Obviously, the connection to Temple with Pat Kraft and Matt Rule as well.
I think Matt Rule's a good coach. I think he's a lot worse than Matt Rule. I mean, the people in Nebraska,
let's go into this. When he was saying stay away from Matt Rule, it's that he wants Matt Rule at Nebraska.
Oh, I misunderstood.
Yes, okay. He wants Matt Rule
I'm being dense. Sorry, my bad.
A lot of stuff going on. So, with that being in mind, Mike, have you had a chance to gather a quick top 5, top 10 list of Penn State?
I have. Yeah, and I don't know how tenable any of these are, but I think Joe Moorhead is a guy that has to get a call.
Okay.
I mean, Joe Moorhead was very successful here. Great guy. He's been a head coach in the SEC. I thought it was a mistake to take that job, and it wasn't a disaster if you look at his 1-loss record. And now he's in a situation where he can win at Akron. But I think he's an excellent football coach and a guy who's very connected here. And that's just a name. I think that's a viable name. Dan Mullen was the head coach in Florida, was pretty successful, and then it went sideways. And then he did TV for a while, and now he's at UNLV, and he's undefeated. Mm-hmm. And I think I always thought he was a pretty good football coach and a guy with Pennsylvania ties. He played at Ursinus, of all places. The offensive coordinator at Oregon, Will Stein, is a real good offensive mind.
He's the hot name. I would say he's the most realistic hot name out there for Penn State.
Hot coordinator, college guy. Has never been a head coach, and that's certainly a thing. One guy that I'm always been tremendous. This is probably not a realistic option, and I'm not even sure it's a good option, but it's a guy that has always impressed the hell out of me, and that's Joe Brady, who is the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, who was the passing game guy at LSU for 1 year. LSU averages 600 yards a game and 48 points a game, and Joe Burrow wins the Heisman, and they win the national championship. And he's other than his stint at LSU, he's been an NFL guy, and he's never been a head coach. That's probably not realistic, but he's just a guy that has always impressed me. And then the one that people are going to say, and this is a big reach, but Curt Cignetti.
Yeah.
People are going to say, hey, at least a phone call to Curt Cignetti, who is the hottest coach in America right now.
Yeah, I definitely think Curt gets a call. I think it would have been better for Penn State if Indiana would have lost. Obviously, Curt, a Pittsburgh guy, put IUP.
Yeah, another guy with Pennsylvania ties, yeah.
So I'm glad you mentioned Dan Mullen. I have Dan Mullen on my list. Some people are going to hammer me and say I'm not adventurous enough. I have Dan Mullen on my list. I also have Schiano on my list. I do. I have Schiano on my list.
Crazy. Yeah, Schiano's crazy.
Matt Rule. Okay, his record against top 10 teams. I get it. And we hammer James about that. Nobody hammers James about not beating top 10 teams at Vanderbilt. Beating top 10 teams at Baylor is a bit different in 3 years, especially what Baylor was brought out of. And beating top 10 teams at, where Nebraska's coming from, the disaster that was Scott Frost, is a little bit different. Does Matt Rule have to be better? Absolutely. But Nebraska and Matt Rule recruiting there in Nebraska is not the same as the Nebraska in the Big 12 and the Big 8. They're not going down into Texas. They're not going to where their recruiting base is. It's a different game. Nebraska probably regrets being in the Big 10, if not for money.
I think Penn State has considerably more upside than Nebraska.
So I think the Cornhusker fans also realize that.
I don't know if they realize it.
Well, they might not admit it, but I think when it comes to the Matt Rule's situation, I think they realize it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm very big on Cignetti. I think Cignetti has to be call number one. Then I think Matt Rule needs a call. Dan Mullen. I'm big on proven head coaches. That's what I'm big on. I think Eli Drinkowitz at Missouri, I think is hardest name to pronounce. I'll pronounce his name wrong 100 million times. I'm not even sure if I just got that right as I glanced at my notes. He wins at Missouri. It's worth a phone call because winning at Missouri in the SEC is not like being at Penn State. And if you want to put Penn State in the second tier, we're not putting Penn State with Ohio State. We're not putting them like where Michigan is right now. We know that Penn State is a step below with the possibility to rise up. But Penn State's also very much bigger than Missouri in that possibility of them doing that.
And bigger than Indiana.
Yes.
And look at what Cignetti has done there. Rent a quarterback for 1 year, 2 years in a row. This guy that's playing for a quarterback for him now is probably going to be a top 10 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, people love this guy and his ability to build it really quick, given the modern realities, the portal and all that stuff. I can't tell you how impressive it is what he's done. It's amazing. It's just amazing what he's done at Indiana. What could he do at Penn State? No idea if he's interested. No idea. Obviously, if Indiana gets wind of this, they'll throw money at him, but,
And by the way, there's something to be said. He was a small-time head coach. He's 64 years old. That gives me pause because I think you need a 10-year guy. I know people are saying Saban and Gruden. Stop.
No, that's not going to happen. No.
Saban, Gruden, Urban Meyer, Rockne, Bear Bryant, Paterno, Bobby Bowden. They all have the same amount of possibility.
Yeah, Vince Lombardi throwing.
Yeah, they all have the same amount of possibility to me. Yeah. Pat Kraft, I didn't realize when Pat Kraft said, I guess that's it, or a version of that last night when I was
saying. Yeah, how about that?
Who knew? I mean, who knew? Maybe I was the second person
Maybe
to know.
He really meant that's it.
So, I'm not fully shocked. The Penn State fan base, I believe, is shocked, a large portion of them. And I believe the portion that are shocked are ironically the ones who may have been able to calm the waters that were slowly pushed away from the program saying, you don't know what we're trying to do here. And by that, I mean the paternal people that were willing to let things go a little bit longer, a little bit less vocal, sit back. Maybe they weren't full-on supporters. And I have a family member like that. They're not full-on James Franklin supporters. But I got to tell you, there are more James Franklin supporters after these losses saying, relax. Football's a funny game. And I feel like the university and James, to an extent, has put those people at arm's length, and those people weren't there to calm the waters, and that's why this move was made.
Okay, all right. I did not think that, and I have not heard people say, calm down. And I've not heard calm down. I've heard nothing.
Defenders. I'll have defenders. I mean, obviously, there's your Jason Kabinda being defenders. But there are people that are not in the social media world that are unhappy, but are saying, there's the contract and give him a chance to turn it around. And
something must have been worked out with regards to the contract. Something. And obviously that's going to be question number one or very close to it tomorrow at noon. I mean, obviously this raises as many questions as it answers, and the rest of this season is going to be as crazy as it can be, and away we go.
Yep, it is. We don't know which direction Penn State's actually going to go from here. Will this team?
Oh, we really don't. We really don't.
That's a lost locker room. I know I said it after the UCLA game, and we kind of been like, you know, I don't know. They kind of got off the turf against Oregon. They came back against UCLA. That video I took of the handshakes, those were goodbye handshakes, and I think it was known. And we asked the guys, Mike, you were around 3 guys last night in the media room. Maybe you got to all 4. I only got to 3. Straight up, is NIL and is there a division in the locker room? Is that a problem? All the guys said no. James Franklin said no. But you have to wonder, as this train literally went off the tracks, not even around an S curve, you're going straight down the tracks. And really, an overtime loss derailed you that much? You have to think something's wrong.
You do have to wonder, and yet I agree with that 100%. I mean, there's some certain situations you could probably. I mean, anybody who's paying attention could probably think it's some certain situations in terms of playing time and snap counts that make you wonder if there aren't contractual guarantees about usage of players that factor into this. But again, that's the same for everybody in this sport. You know, Ohio State manages it somehow, and they've got all the talent in the world. They've got more talent than anybody. So it's however it came off the rails. I think you have to look at it. You know, look at the lay of the land realistically. It is off the rails now. This is a train wreck, and that's why James Franklin is out of the picture. And wow, who knows what happens next?
Parent tweet. Zaki Wheatley on Twitter. I follow most of the Penn State football accounts. This is, I'm assuming, father. I follow most of the Penn State accounts and listen to most of the podcasts. Well, thank you. We hope you're listening, tuning in.
God love you.
I hear all the opinions of why Penn State is losing right now. Pretty much the opinions are mostly all different. To me, it's very clear and obvious why PSU has lost 3 in a row and most are missing it. Scroll down.
I mean, either say what you mean or don't say anything.
Yep.
What do you mean? I mean,
scrolls down, says I cannot tell, hands up, no response to the NIL question, and the other part is the leaders are not the issue, is what it says in there.
Oh, okay.
But they have vocal leaders. That's not the issue, is the exact phrase.
Yeah, they do have vocal leaders. I mean, obviously, Nick Dawkins is one. I think Zaki Wheatley is probably one. I think King Mack is probably one. I mean, they have those kind of guys. And probably Sutton, Dennis Sutton is probably one. You know, I don't know if that's it.
We'll see where they go from here. We've thrown out a list of coaches. Obviously, the big ones that are getting all the hype, Signetti at Indiana with what he's doing. Pay attention to Dan Mullen, I think, as a dark horse. Matt Rule is an obvious one. Mike, great call on the Will Stein one. And also the Joe Brady. You never know if Penn State wants to go the offensive coordinator route. You never know. Bold prediction with the Joe Moorhead one. Bold. I'll give you that.
Well, I think he makes more sense than Brady. I mean, Brady is really a reach. I just put him in there because I've been impressed with his work over the years as an offensive coordinator. But I don't think Moorhead is crazy at all.
Yep. All right, 24 minutes press conference coming tomorrow with Terry Smith. Thanks for watching Blue White Tailgate Podcast. Mike Gross of the Gross Rational Product and Andrew Kalista here of the Blue White Tailgate Podcast Network. A lot of things happening. Penn State football in change of leadership. Terry Smith, your new head coach, former Letterman and wide receiver great for the Nittany Lions, assumes the helm, vacated by James Franklin. And man, does he have a lot of work to do as Penn State with Ethan Grunkmeyer, first start out in Iowa City at night, which has been a house of horrors, to say the least, a little bit for Penn State teams, at least ones that had high expectations, as we saw in 2021. We'll see how this plays out. But Terry Smith, we'll hear from him on Monday, as well as Director of Athletics, Patrick Kraft. For Mike, I'm Andrew. Thanks for watching.